Hello, my name is Jordan Nash, and I visited the museum on Monday, October 3rd, towards the end of a yoga class that was taking place in the museum. Because of the yoga class and it being a Monday, the library was actually closed, which I did not realize at the time when I went in with my friend. But because of the fact that it was closed and the fact that a yoga class was ending at the time, it did create a very quiet, peaceful, and serene environment. The piece I chose was by Amy Sherald, and it was called Fact Was She Knew More About Them Than She Knew About Herself, having never had a map to discover what she was like. It depicts a black girl who's seemingly dressed in like a conservative school uniform, and I think one of the most interesting parts about it that drew me to it was the fact that it was a dark black girl who was depicted in the school uniform. The thing that really, really drew me to this piece was the title. I initially was going to choose another piece from the museum, and then I read the title, and I was like, ooh, like that really resonated with me. And on top of that, the description that Amy Sherald gave really connected with me because she talked about being a black girl in a majority white space, and I could really connect with that because I attended a majority white private school for the majority of my education, and it's very hard to like figure out who you are as a black woman in this world when all you're surrounded by is like white faces who at the end of the day will never be able to connect you. There are things you can't learn about yourself when you're in an environment that has no one that looks like you and no one that understands the journey you're on as a person. And Amy Sherald talked about that in her description a lot, about how she had a similar story, and I believe that's who she was trying to depict in the image, was like herself, almost herself as a black girl in this environment, trying to figure out who she was. And then it also, like, immediately, I created a lot of connections in my head to the things we've been talking about, ADW. And the main one, like I said before, was the idea of identity formation. It's like, how do you form your identity in a space that is not for you? And that's something that's very important to me. That's why I chose Spelman. And a lot of the pieces we talked about in ADW are talking about the formation of black identities in a white space and in a white world, and how do you keep a black identity, and what does a diaspora mean in terms of black identity. And I also think that it connects to the idea of race as a social construction, being black in a white space, because if race is a social construction, like how does that play into your education, and how does that play into being a black person in a white-dominated world? If if race is just a social construct, how do you deal with that? And then that all just immediately connected back to the title and the description given by the author.